In this series of 3 videos, we're going to set up word problems with a system of equations. These problems will be a little harder, so we're not going to take the time to solve the system. We're just going to set up the problem, and then you can use your solving systems on your own. So the important thing to know, we're not going to solve these in these videos, but first we have to identify the unknowns. And this is an English step. We don't actually write anything down at this stage. At least we don't write any variables. But step 2 is to actually pick variables for the unknowns and try to have the letters make sense. Step 3, if you use the information in the problem, you should be able to write 2 equations. Step 4 is to then solve the system of equations, and again, we will not show that in this video. So let's try a couple examples. The difference between 2 numbers is 16. 5 times the smaller is the same as 8 less than twice the larger. Find the numbers. Well, in this problem, yes, we do have 2 numbers, but we're not just going to write 2 numbers because they're very specific about referring to the different numbers. We have the smaller and we have the larger. So my 2 unknowns are smaller and larger. Step 2 is to pick variables. Try to pick variables that make sense. If we didn't identify smaller and larger, we might just use x and y, but why don't we pick variables that make sense? I'm going to pick the letter S and the letter L. S and L. And now, step 3 is to use the information in the problem to write 2 equations. Here it says the difference between 2 numbers is 16. Now you want to be careful. Don't just write S minus L equals 16, the difference, because this is the smaller number. And if you take a smaller and you subtract a larger, you're going to get a negative value. So that's not a good answer. Instead, you want to take the larger, subtract the smaller. This will give you a difference. And our difference in this case is 16. Next, we have a lot more in this second equation, second statement. 5 times the smaller. Let's just read left to right. 5 times, which means multiply by 5, the smaller, s. 5s is the same as. Those 4 words translates to equals. Is the same as, equals. 8 less than. Now again, if we were to do 8 minus something, this means we start with 8 and then we subtract. But again, 8 less than, that's not correct. We want to start with something and then subtract 8. So we're going to say blank minus 8. 5s is something minus 8. 8 less than what? 8 less than twice the larger, 2L. And so here's our system. And you can go ahead and solve that on your own. The answer would end up being the 2 numbers are 8 and 24. So you can check that on your own.